A very good evening, Zimbabwe. And this evening, I want to talk about a very important aspect, a very important issue. The issue of why is Advocate Nelson Chamisa indirectly the leader of the Republic of Zimbabwe? And I will give you a clear explanation why I am saying so. So we need to take a look on the issue of power itself. So when we are taking a look on the issues of power, we had what we call hard power. We have what is called soft power. We have what is called smart power. And hard power is when we use military and economic coercion to force the society to believe in what we believe in. That is our point number one. And in Zimbabwe, ZANU-PF has failed to use hard power smartly. Why? If you look at the issue of the economy does not coerce the people of Zimbabwe to continuously vote for ZANU-PF anymore. They tried it by excluding the rural population from the economy itself so that they remain poor, so that they remain viable by food and aid. But that has come to an end because the situation right now in Zimbabwe has gone to the extremes. That is a bad exercise of hard power. And if you look on the issue of the military influence in any economy can work when all the ranks and file are hugely rewarded and they are benefiting from whatever is happening in the economy. So if you look at the situation of Zimbabwe, only the big wigs are benefiting and the lower ranks are not benefiting from anything. So if we take a look on the issue of soft power, we are talking about an issue where we are not using coercion. We are just using our views to convince the majority of the people or the society to believe in us, to believe in whatever we are doing. If you look at Advocate Nelson Chamisa, he is smart in terms of using soft power. He's using soft power and diplomacy to deal with certain issues. That is the reason why Panofamba Advocate Nelson Chamisa, you see a lot of people running behind him. He does not give people anything. He does not say much about anything. But the people just love him as he is because he used diplomacy, used soft power in terms of dealing with the mindsets, in terms of dealing with the people. So that is what is very important, and that creates a relationship which will live longer than expected. So this means Advocate Nelson Chamisa will have more time and will complete his terms as the leader of Zimbabwe without facing any struggles or any hassles because of the use of soft power, how he uses soft power. And that is what is very important. At soft power, at times, people see soft power as a weakness, but it rewards because it makes people understand you better. And that is one example which shows that indeed he is in charge and he is in power. So if you look at, I have described two sources of power, and I explained briefly. Right, let us get to the gist of this matter. There is what we call state legitimacy. State legitimacy is very important if you want to rule, or if you want to lead, if you want to have influence over the economic affairs. You need state legitimacy, and this is a key aspect if you need to have a state society relationship which is intact. So you would see Kuti in Zimbabwe, there is repression, there is violence, and there is conflict. All these negative experiences are coming from illegitimacy, are coming from the society not agreeing with the state. So illegitimacy or legitimacy comes from a situation where the state and the society are linked, are in agreement. That is where we say this is a legitimate government. But when there is a gap, a very huge gap, a very huge difference in terms of how we see things between the state and the society, that is what we call illegitimacy. So you would see kuti all these things is kuitika, repression iri kuitika zvese izvi. It's a matter of trying to force the society to believe in what ZANU-PF believes. So if you look at Advocate Nelson Chamisa, you would see kuti he is in charge. Why? Is because the social economy believes in him. Everybody, the society, believes in Advocate Nelson Chamisa more than they believe in those in the offices. That is a sign of power. Very, very, very important power. So the issue of mistrust and rejection, it is, if you look at the state institutions, Manj, they confirm that indeed there is illegitimacy, that indeed the people in the offices are not the rightful people, because these institutions, they operate from the people appointed by those in the offices, and there must be a cohesion, or there must be coherence in between the people in leadership and their subordinates. So you'd see kuti, the fragile institutions, the unwillingness of the state to provide welfare for its citizens, the unwillingness of the state to provide or to improve the standards of living, and all those things, they confirm that indeed they are not in power, they are not in charge, but Advocate Nelson Chamisa is, because the state institutions, they are willing to cooperate with Advocate Nelson Chamisa. We are talking about lower ranks of the state institutions. If go to the nurses, they believe in Advocate Nelson Chamisa. The majority of doctors go to the judiciary itself. If you go to the lower ranked judicial officers and the supporting staff, they believe in Advocate Nelson Chamisa. Go to the police, they believe in Advocate Nelson Chamisa. Talk to them one by one. You will be surprised to hear vachitaura some positive things about Advocate Nelson Chamisa. Go to the military, to the CIO, they believe in Advocate Nelson Chamisa. Izvozvozvo chete zvinotiratidza tese kuti the people who were supposed to be praising the government were the people who work in the institutions. But because of failure, because of disconnection, they believe in Advocate Nelson Chamisa more, except for the top chiefs who are benefiting from the looting which is happening, except for a few individuals who are benefiting directly. So these issues are very important for you to understand. So the second point, let us look at how state legitimacy, where does state legitimacy derives? It derives from effectiveness of the public institutions. If you go to the judiciary as an institution, its effectiveness, it shows the issue of state legitimacy. But if you look at our judiciary, it's now in shambles. It's no longer that judiciary we wish to see. Unotoziva kuti Job Sikalafi akawana bail. Unotoziva kuti vanhu veZANU-PF vakasungwa vanowana bail. That alone shows you that there is no state legitimacy. Go to the police. When you see orders are unconstitutional being made to the police force and are being followed, it shows that there is no state legitimacy. Pane kumanikidzirana nekumbunyikidzana kuripo pakati apa. If you see the military getting into the streets to beat protesters are unarmed, that is a clear sign of state of lack of state legitimacy. So you would see kuti, the performance and of these institutions in terms of their various functions: service delivery, taxation, social protection systems, the degree of representation and accountability. If you see these institutions representing the elite more than they do the poor people, it shows that there is no legitimacy in that country. So legitimacy does not derive solely from effectively functioning institutions, because if you go to other nations, they have functional institutions, but personal legitimacy is also. If you go to China, there is no legitimacy, but the institutions are functional. But the institutions must all resonate with the society. So you see kuti China, if you go to China, the state institutions, they end up resonating with the majority or with the societies. That is the reason why you see there is better legitimacy in China than in Zimbabwe. Mapurisa inogara iri gonzo nachin'ai nemahwindi nemavhenda nana mukoti nana nemugara muchimhanyisana chete. That is a sign yekuti there is no state legitimacy. because these are state institutions, and these state institutions must defend and be in line with the people, the general public. So you'd see, Kuti, I have tried to just show you why I say Advocate Nelson Chamisa is in power. So you see kuti if you ask them kuti amuna munombozviitire, they will tell you kuti hapana zvekuzviita, we just follow orders because that is what is available, that is what we are allowed to do. So I would want to tell you this. It's difficult for somebody not to obey an order. Why? You may die. You may get arrested. You may get framed. And you don't know. So you would see kuti the support they are giving to this regime is not the support based on their love for the regime. This is the support based on the regime using tactics to say, if you're a soldier, if you disagree with them, or if you fail to agree to an order, you can be court martialed just because they will tell you kuti wateta treason. So you will see, Guti, those are the issues which are there. But deep down their hearts, they know who their leaders is. They know very well that Advocate Nelson Chamisa is the leader. Why? Look at Advocate Nelson Chamisa paano taura. If he gives a comment, everyone believes, Guti, yes, this is what is supposed to be happening. The government of Zimbabwe will come in a reactionary way and try to implement the Advocate Nelson Chamisa. It's because he is in power. Every day, it's Chamisa this, Chamisa that, Chamisa this, Chamisa that. The government institutions, if you look at them, ministries, they speak more about Nelson Chamisa than they speak about whatever achievement they're doing. Every time you hear ZANU-PF people talking, they speak more about Chamisa. Instead of them talking about the achievements of their government, they speak more about Advocate Nelson Chamisa. And the question is, why? It's because he is in charge. So I just decided to bring this short lesson to the people of Zimbabwe so that they understand the power of influence, how state power works, and how Advocate Nelson Chamisa is co-joined in all these issues, and that is a very important factor in the affairs of the nation of Zimbabwe. Is somebody who is in charge but does not have state authority. So what we need to do is to just give him state authority. And you see my prices, achinomalizer, you see my rates, achinomalizer, you see the economy itself, it will begin to normalize. You see my investments, they will begin to improve and increase because the banking sector, banking sector yakutotanga kutopa loans. Hazvimbodi policies. Yakutotanga kutopa loans because society kana yakangobatana chete nemutungamiriri zvatopa legitimacy, ma-institutions trust yatouya, wakutona value yemari yakutotanga kutostrengthena. Zvaitika paZambia and it's happening right now. So you would see kuti izvozvo ndo zvinhu zvichavaka Zimbabwe. So vote iwewe in 2023 so that we bring Nelson Chamisa into authority so that he exercises the power he does have, the legitimacy he does have. We want him to exercise it starting from 2023 going forward. This is it, Team Zimbabwe. My name is Ronald. Let us meet in another episode, another broadcast.